Good afternoon. My name is Philip Pandy. This is for assignment 1A, and this is for the last portion, the final activity synthesis. Um, and so I'm supposed to pretty much just go over all the sections in about 5 minutes or so, so it'll be my pleasure to go ahead and do that. When it came down to my identity web and the last portion, which would have been under the personal assets and support, we pretty much talked about the basics of where I came from. So being from Belize, being of two families, growing here, becoming a citizen. Actually, this is the month I became a citizen back in 1996. At the end, how your parents were raised, and then they bring you here, and then you grow up as an American, and you go through the system here. It actually identifies you in two senses. When you see yourself as Black, not African American. You see yourself as Central American. You see that the reason you're here is to learn and succeed, as any parent wants their child to do. At the end of it, the culture of learning all these things that bring you up, your family, your sports, like even playing water polo. I'm 6'2", and I used to be 215 pounds, and didn't even think of playing football, but ended up playing water polo and swimming. I stepped a lot outside of the norm, and I think when we were trying to do the stereotypes and the bias, those assets just kind of flew by me. The stereotypes was just more offensive and a little harsh, trying to put everything together, because you're going, wait a sec, I know that this is just a generalization, and I'm taking this course as a sense of not everybody has grown up in an area where, your neighbor to the right of you is Salvadorian, you're Belizean, the one across from you is Costa Rican. Heck, even the day I became a citizen, the neighbors next door to the people next to me, we were at the same ceremony. So my best friend is first generation Mexican American on his dad's side, and second generation on his mother's side. My other best friend's Argentinian. So we sit there and we have always been the stereotype or something that's not on point. And so you start to realize, hey, not everyone is not everyone or everything is as you see. Growing up in West Covina, La Puente, right next to Walnut, we had Asian Americans and we had Caucasian Americans. I came across them in my high school and in junior high. You sit there, and it doesn't mean that we're best friends, but they don't fit the stereotype and the norms that we come across and we see across the television. Muslims, I think I came across a couple, but I never became close with them. And you know what, my loss, not theirs, because I didn't grow from that. However, at the very end of it, putting labels, as I stated in some of my homework, it's something that I've come across on TV, if it's someone that I haven't come across personally. And unfortunately, that does make me feel that, we're definitely, I might be losing out on something. I am hoping that, that as I go through, these different icebergs for the culture, and learning anything from, rice and beans, stewed chicken, to, the rituals on Sunday of going to church, family dinners, family functions, things such as that. It'll help me adapt to working with my students. And I'm actually taking this course and realizing as I was writing as well, that this isn't just for me to break down who I am, so that way when I go and I share with my kids, but it's also, there's a twist. This is also making me go how my students are going to look at me, and what representation I may be, one, for all of Black America. Two, I may have to help get rid of some misconceptions that they've seen on television. And I would say it's a lot of pressure, but it's not, because at the end of the day, when you grow up as a black man and you have parents like mine that just set you up, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, you come across and that's how you live. It becomes second nature. And so it's not a challenge of me changing them, it's just them letting them know that I'm as human as they are and that we're also not the same. And even utilize stuff like the culture, the iceberg will let them know, hey, if a bully is there and we do this breakdown, we're going to notice that they might have something more in common than the bully and their friends. You may have something more in common with your friends, or vice versa, because now you have the breakdown of where you are, what you like, what you're doing, things below the surface as well, where you come from, even down to the stereotypes that you expect, because not every Latino is the same. Salvadoran isn't the same as a Guatemalan. A Guatemalan isn't the same as a Mexican. Heck, I'm Honduranian and Nicaraguan on my dad's side. It is just an amazing point that we are taking this course to pretty much make sure that we're taking the time to be open, to know what our biases are, so that way when we walk into the classroom and these students are coming in one at one, we might someone with a Punjabi on there. It is at that point that it also becomes on my tact to go ahead and find out, hey, can I ask this child to answer some questions about it? And then that way I can help educate the rest of the room. And once again, it makes it safer for that student. The idea of this is to make sure that I learn, they learn, and we all become productive members of society. That is the key. I hope I hit everything. I think we talked about the iceberg, we talked about the identity chart with where I come from between school, family, the bias chart, and then the assets. So I did enjoy the one about the TED program in regards to autism, where I do look, and some of my friends have kids that are on the spectrum, and you sit there and you go, all right, great. So, and it's funny because they mentioned Legos. I have one friend, his child is about Legos, currently a sophomore in high school now in Rancho. But yes, at the end of the day, the mindset is, if you can spot it, great. Then you just need to work with other people, so that way they know what they're getting into. The spectrum is very wide. As I said, some people it can go from just lack of social connections to being mute. But at the end of the day, the mind is there and it's clicking. It just looks at things in a different manner. So with that said and done, I believe I hit everything on here. If not, I'll learn for next time, because that's the best thing about this. You got to get your feet wet sometimes, and the outcome isn't always the same. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.